Welcome back, TCG Squad. The spoilers keep on coming in. Now, there's actually been a lot of spoilers that have actually come out since the past couple of weeks, but I have been on vacation and busy with a planetary qualifier that have not been able to cover them. So I want to actually get a subset of some of the cards that I saw, the most recent ones, and kind of talk about them. And boy, I'm pretty excited about one of these leaders. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, we're starting off with Yoda. We finally have a Yoda leader. Let's go. Anyone's a Star Wars fan, you're equally hyped as me. So let's look at Yoda. Aspects are vigilance and heroism. His action says exhaust. If a unit left play this phase, draw a card, then put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. His epic action says, if you control 7 or more resources, deploy this leader. We're looking at the leader unit side. He has 4 attack, 9 defense, restore 2, and his text says, when deployed, you may discard a card from your deck. If you do, defeat an enemy non-leader unit that costs the same as or less than the discarded card. Wow, I like me some Yoda. First of all, on his leader side, it doesn't make big of a deal, but I think it's pretty good that it allows you to filter, and drawing cards is probably one of the most important things in most TCGs. We see a little bit of filtering with R2-D2 and C3PO already. I think Yoda's just going to help you filter that hand, so that if you do draw cards, you're kind of getting the cards that you actually need to help set up your board state, help control your opponent's board state, or just get you the card that you might need to have in hand so you can make a better decision of what you should be playing. On the leader side, I think he's dope. So for attack, I'm not a big fan of having such little attack, but you're more than makes up for having that 9 defense. So we're going to call that a wash, okay? He also has Restore 2. Restoring the game is good. As you know, Blue, his whole strategy is typically trying to control your opponents to minimize the amount of damage it takes, so it can, once it gets their larger units, they're going to start hitting back up and probably taking out the more aggressive or aggro type decks. So obviously Restore 2 on attack, really good. Especially the turn when he comes out, you can attack and restore. Now, the when deployed, it is interesting. It says you can discard a card from a deck, and if you do, you can defeat an enemy non-leader unit that costs the same or less. So this can actually potentially help you clear the board as well for some of those larger threats. Ideally, maybe right before your flip turn on the Yoda, you kind of see what card is in it. If it's an expensive card, probably keep it. When you do deploy Yoda, discard that card. Boom, you kill something big. Yoda kills something else, restores 2. I also want to point out that Yoda also comes out the same turn that you can play Luke Skywalker, who has a restore 3. The next turn, when these 2 guys attack, you're restoring 5. That's actually really huge. I think overall, I'm going to go ahead and rank Yoda as a good card. Next up, we have Unlimited Power. This is a 6 cost event. Its aspects are double aggression. And it says deal 4 damage to a unit, 3 damage to a unit, 2 damage to a third unit, and 1 damage to a fourth unit. All damage dealt simultaneously. This is a legendary card. Right off the rip, Unlimited Power looks like a good card. It's also like, if you think about it, you're paying 6 and you're doing what, 4, 7, 9, 10 damage. So you're paying 6 resources to do 10 damage. That sounds like it's good, but it's actually not that good. Why? First of all, it says deal damage to a unit. So that means if your opponent has 3 units on the board and you have 1, you're obviously going to have to do the damage for 4 units. So you're going to have to do 4 damage to one of their units, 3 damage to another one of your units, 2 damage to one of their units, and then the 1 damage to a 4th unit. Again, you don't really want to be doing damage to your own units. It's not worth it. And where you really wouldn't want to play this, let's say your opponent has 2 units. If you can pay 6 resources to do 7 damage to take out those 2 units, it might be a good thing. But all in all, I think unlimited power isn't as good as I could potentially be. I'm gonna go ahead and rank this as a bad card. It's cool, the thought of unlimited power. He's shocking Mace Windu, but I don't think this is a good card. Next up, we have Merciless Contest. This is a 3-cost event. Its aspects are villainy, and it says each player chooses a non-leader unit they control. Defeat those units. Some people are going to get mad about this one. This is basically another Power of the Dark Side. The only difference or the only caveat is this doesn't kill leaders, whereas Power of the Dark Side does. Most decks that are probably going to be running this is going to be your control decks, your control villainy decks. So now you have 3 more Power of the Dark Sides on this in your deck. So let's say if you're playing a 6-cost turn and there are leaders out and have another unit, you're going to play Merciless Contest first. They're going to obviously not choose their leader to die. They're probably going to attack with their leader, or might decide to play an upgrade, and then you drop Power of the Dark Side and it takes out their leader. That's pretty broken. For the way the card is, it's a little bit slightly weaker version of Power of the Dark Side, but as we all know, Power of the Dark Side is a good card. So I'm going to go ahead and rank this as a good card. Next up, we have a new leader, Pre Vizsla. Pre Vizsla is aspects are aggression and villainy. Action says pay 1 resource and exhaust, deal a damage to a unit equal to the number of cards you've drawn this phase. This does include cards drawn from the regroup phase. His epic action, it says if you control 5 or more resources, deploy this leader. On the leader side, he is a 4 attack and 6 defense, and it says while you have 3 or more cards in your hand, this unit gains Saboteur, and while you have 6 or more cards in your hand, this unit gets +2/+0, effectively make him a 6/6. I think Pre Vizsla is an okay leader. I do like the fact that you can deal a damage to a unit equal to the number of cards you have drawn for that phase. Now it's very difficult to get some card draw in the game currently right now. Maybe if you're playing aggression, you can do damage and draw a card, then you got to pay 1 if you happen to have 1 floating resource to do damage to a unit that could potentially take it out. I don't see the action being used very often, so I don't think it's going to be that great of an action on the leader side. The leader unit side, I do like that 3 or more cards, it gives you Saboteur, that gives you the chance to bypass Sentinel or destroy shields if you're attacking a unit. While you have 6 or more cards in your hand, is very interesting. I think if there's a way you can build a card draw deck, pre Vizsla coming out and attacking when he as a 6/6, I think that would be a pretty good leader for 5 resources. Kind of rivals the Boba level. Obviously, Boba's a 4/7, has that 1 extra defense, does make a big difference. But if this guy can consistently be a 6/6, I think he's pretty good. Overall, I'm gonna go ahead and give Pre Vizsla as a good card. It's not quite there where I can put it in that bad category, but it's nowhere near, and it's nowhere near close busted. We haven't seen one yet. We have Grievous Wheel Bike. This is a 4-cost upgrade. His aspects are villainy. It says while playing this upgrade on General Grievous, it costs 2 less to play. Attached to a non-vehicle unit, attached unit gains Overwhelm. I'm going to talk about this card strictly for Grievous upgrade. So you're going to pay 2 to upgrade Grievous and give him +3 attack and +3 defense. And he also is going to gain Overwhelm. So right off the rip, this is Boba's armor level equivalent. Boba's armor just essentially increases Boba's attack by 2 and defense by 2, and it negates essentially the first 2 damage you would take. This is essentially same cost, but it gives it 1 more attack, 1 more defense, and it has Overwhelm. I think this card is very, very good. We've seen, as you guys can tell if you've been following any of the planetary qualifiers, Boba is really dominating the PQ Season 0. And Boba's armor is a big reason that I think that he's dominating because the combo of you deploy Boba, you put Boba's armor on him, and you're able to get the 3 resources off that turn, and you have the chance to do overwhelming barrage. Boba is wrecking boards with that because Boba goes 6 power, then overwhelming barrage gives it +2, it gives 8 power. So you have 8 power to just wreck anything on the board. The same idea with Grievous, he'll have +3/+3. And remember, if you have a Grievous unit, he probably wants lightsabers too. So Grievous is coming in, he's gonna be hitting hard. Imagine if there's units that have 1 health left, like a droid or a clone trooper that has 1 damage on it. He's gonna be doing a lot of overwhelm damage to an opponent's base. I think Grievous's Will Bite is a solid card for Grievous. So for Grievous specifically, I must say this is a good card. For non-Grievous, I don't think is worth the upgrade. Play another upgrade. Next up, we have the ATTE Vanguard. This is a 8-cost ground unit. Its aspects are heroism. Has 6 attack, 9 defense, has restore 3, and it says when defeated, create 2 clone trooper tokens. 8-cost ground unit, but I'll tell you this ground unit is good. First of all, restore 3, super good. There's nothing bad about restore 3. Any kind of restore 3 for this cost, I think is worth it. He also is very tanky. 9 defense is really good. 6 attack, solid amount of attack. But if we also add in the part where he has, when he gets defeated, it creates 2 clone trooper tokens. Remember, clone trooper tokens are 2 attack and 2 defense. So now we're adding 4/4 power to the board. So if we add this to the cost of this card, you're essentially looking at 10 power and 13 defense for 8 resources. I think that is really good. And this will be a difficult decision against your opponent. If you attack and you restore it, is like, man, do I really want to create some clone trooper tokens for my opponent that might trigger a coordinate, and then now they could do more shenanigans? It's going to be an interesting call. I'm looking forward to seeing what decks actually carry this guy. I think this is a playable card. I'm just not entirely sure which decks will carry it or which decks will unit. Maybe a Han deck that might need to do a little restore. Of course, a deck with the new Yoda. Why not? That's your next. Once you deploy Yoda, your next turn, deploy this guy. You can start restoring like crazy. But all in all, I'm gonna go ahead and rank this as a good card. Next up, we have Count Dooku. He is an 8-cost ground unit. His aspects are aggression and villainy. He has 6 attack and 6 defense. He also says he has exploit 2, overwhelm, and it says when played, for each unit you exploited while playing this card, you may deal damage to an enemy unit equal to the power of the exploited unit. I do want to say Count Dooku is awesome. So let's look at it first of all, right? So he has exploit 2, meaning you can sacrifice 2 units and it reduces the cost by 4. So you can bring in Count Dooku at 4 resources and he's a 6/6 and has overwhelm. What's really cool, he allows you to cycle damage to your opponent's board based on the units you exploited. If you think about it like, okay, just exploit 2 battle droids, right? Tokens, that's 1/1s, right? They can do 1 damage to a unit, but that's like the simple way of thinking about it. Let's say you had a Palpatine. Palpatine had 1 health left. You can play Count Dooku, exploits maybe a droid token that had 1 health left and that could kill something on your opponent's board. Then you exploit Palpatine, who has 1 health left. He's not much here. You may have already attacked with him. You can now, that will actually hit that trigger when played. If you sacrifice Palpatine with exploit, Palpatine has 6 power. So you can do 6 damage to a unit. That could take out most units at the resource cost 4 or 5 of the game. Just depends. Maybe you just want to deploying at 6 cost by only sacrificing 1 unit. But that's still very powerful. And I want to be clear, it says for each unit you exploited. So that means you do rotate. You first do exploit the first one, deal the damage, exploit the second one, deal the damage, and then boom, Dooku's ready. I also want to point out that Count Dooku is also going to be, he has that Force keyword, so anything Force related, he has Sith. It's actually going to be pretty good. I really like Count Dooku. The art is alright, but overall, I'm going to rank this as a good card. Alright guys, those were all the cards that were spoiled today. Let me know in the comments which one was your favorite card. And if you're new to my channel, I'll be discussing anything related to Star Wars Unlimited, One Piece, Lorcana, and Flesh and Blood, as well as Union Arena, as I'm starting to get into that game. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the spoilers. Let me know which cards you liked in the comments. Let me know which ones you didn't. Appreciate your time. Good day. Peace.